we're looking now at what we can do, particularly here as Catholics. Most of us here are Catholics, but as members of God's family, what can we do to end violence against women and girls and to support people who've been affected? And every year, starting on the 25th of November, which is the International Day for Ending Violence Against Women and Girls, we start 16 days of global action. And each year in past years, the church has become more and more involved, which is really important and really positive, because the Catholic Church can be a really strong voice in this, and the Holy Father has been a very strong voice in it. So between the 25th of November and the 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day, we have these 16 days of action. We traditionally wear orange as a sign of hope, and we remember people we've lost, and we look at what we can do to make the world safer for women and girls. The theme this year for the 16 days is towards Beijing 30. It's 30 years since the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which was a global framework, a global policy framework for gender equality. And I think 30 years on, if we look around the world, we can see that we are still very, very far from achieving gender equality in the world. And so we need to keep working. And we need to, not only during these 16 days, but we need to keep working consistently. A little bit about the history of the International Day for Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. The date, 25th of November, was chosen in memory of three sisters, the Mirabel sisters, who were assassinated on the 25th of November in 1960. They were assassinated after their work campaigning against the tyranny of the dictatorship in the Dominican Republic where they lived. And about 20 years after their assassination, some feminist groups started using this day as a day to remember them and to remember all women who have died at the hands of violent men. And then in the year 2000, it was taken up by the United Nations as the International Day for Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. But we remember these brave sisters, and we remember all women who have been lost to us as a result of the violence of men. And we still need to carry on this work, because right now, today, there are roughly 100 women in the UK who will not be alive by the time we mark this day next year. We don't know who they are, but we know statistically that roughly this number of women are killed by a partner or ex-partner every year. And so we need to do what we can to change that statistic, to change all these statistics, because they're not just numbers, they are women. We also need to remember, we talk often about the numbers of women who've been killed, but we need to remember also the women who haven't been killed, but neither are they still living. Because one of the things that I don't think we talk about enough is the death of the soul, which happens when you cannot live your God-given life, because every moment of your life is controlled by another person. And so we remember those women as well, and we work and we fight for those women as well, who are alive but not living, because they're not able, they're not free to live their true lives. The Holy Father has spoken many, many times about this issue, and very powerfully. And one of the things that he said last year was, I think, a really powerful call to all of us to take action, that we need to act immediately at all levels with determination, urgency, and courage. So, what can we do as Catholics, as people of faith? What can we do? It's very easy, I think, to feel overwhelmed by the magnitude and the horror and think that there's nothing we can do as individuals. But the thing about being an individual is that even tiny, tiny actions make a difference if a lot of us are doing them. So what we've done, and it's the second year running that we've done this, we started this last year, is the CSAN Domestic Abuse Alliance, in conjunction with the National Board of Women and with Safe in Faith, have created a calendar with manageable actions. They're invitations and suggestions. You don't have to follow every single one of them. If there are other things you want to do, that's amazing. But they're actions to help Catholics get involved in the 16 days in manageable ways. So you'll see the first one there is an invitation to join with the Red Chair Project. And we have some resources on the CSAN website. So there is a poster that you can put on your chair. You can do this through the Restored website. We've got a poster that has links to support that people can access. I would say if you do choose to do that in your parish, please also make sure that there are links to support in private places where people can safely access them. So, for example, the back of toilet doors is a really good place where people can privately download on their phones that information. They might not be able to do that safely publicly. We've also got links to the Safe in Faith training, and we can go into your deanery, or we have online trainings you can access. Our next one, we've got a day on trauma and trauma-informed support, which is on the 3rd of December. And then we're going to have some more training opportunities next year. We've got the booklet by the National Board of Catholic Women, which the National Board of Catholic Women have been speaking about this, and some of you are here who've been speaking about this for decades. And they've got a really comprehensive booklet about domestic abuse. And there are some other ideas about how to support organisations, including Women at the Well, and I do hope Sarah can join us again shortly. And things like donating to food banks as well, because we know the link between poverty, economic abuse and domestic abuse is very, very strong. I'm going to talk about a couple of the things in particular. We're using this 16 days to launch the CSAN Do Justice worksheet on domestic abuse. So that can be accessed on the CSAN website. And during the 16 days, we're going to be putting a link to that on the Safe in Faith website as well. And that's got information about understanding, recognizing domestic abuse, but also some signposting. There's a link also, Safe in Faith has a signposting toolkit on our website. It's a living document, so we're updating it all the time, and it will help you to find the best, safest signposting for people that you would like to support. We're also going to be starting our Ask for Mary project. You may well have heard about the Ask for Annie project, which was begun during the pandemic, where people could go into pharmacies and ask for Annie, and they would be directed to a safe space where they could use the telephone and computers to access help. We know that accessing help from your own home is often not safe because perpetrators monitor phones and internet and browsing history. So just providing a safe space for people to use a phone and the internet safely to seek help. And so what we're doing, we're working with Hestia, who set this up. They set up Ask for Annie and Safe Spaces. We're working with Hestia and Catholic Safeguarding to create a project where parish offices can be safe spaces to offer this for people seeking help. So anyone who isn't able to do those internet searches or make those phone calls from their home will have a safe space to do that. Parishes will need to go through training just to make sure that we're doing it really safely. But we're inviting them to get in touch with us and sign up for that training, and we can support them in providing this. We also have several training courses that we can go into deaneries and provide, or that you can sign up for. We provide them also online. And the training for parishes helps you to understand domestic abuse in society, but also domestic abuse in the context of Catholic spirituality. So issues like forgiveness and suffering, how they might be weaponized. And we look at how perpetrators will often weaponize the faith and belief of their victim. And if somebody is a person of faith, that's an incredibly powerful way to control them. We also talk about trauma and what trauma-informed support looks like, and why trauma-informed support is really necessary in this line of work. And then we look at signposting, because the point of training parishes is not that we're there to fix everything. There are things that parishes and clergy can do that secular services can't do, and that is to say, God loves you, God wants you to be safe, the church supports you in getting safe. But it's also really important that we understand that we can't fix everything. And so those links with the secular services are really important. And also looking after ourselves and being aware of vicarious trauma, and avoiding clergy burnout and burnout of supporters, which is a very real issue. So that's part of the trauma-informed approach. So those are all the things that we need to do to support survivors. But we also need to look wider than that. Because in the words of Desmond Tutu, we can't just keep pulling people out of the river. If we want to end violence against women, we need to go further upstream. We need to ask those really hard questions about why it is that people keep falling in. We need to ask those really hard questions about the links between patriarchy and patriarchal systems and what's happening to women, the violence against women. And we need to be really brave and courageous as a community and ask those questions together. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that we need to start asking those questions and repeatedly ask them, as the Pope said, with urgency and courage, immediately and at all levels. Because globally, 1 in 3 women are subjected to physical or sexual abuse. And those are only the ones that are reported. And I think something that came out of the Me Too movement was that if we expand that to sexual harassment, or women just feeling unsafe in the streets. That's all of us. That's everybody, all of us women. So I thank you, sisters, for being here. And I thank you, ally brothers, for being here. I'm so grateful to you all, because we need all of us to ask those questions, to take these actions. These 16 days are a beginning. The end of the 16 days isn't the end of our work. It's in fact the beginning of the work. The 16 days is a reminder of why we need to do this. And initiatives like Red Chair are a reminder of why we need to do this. But I thank you all, and I look forward to this year's 16 days, and I hope you will join us, and I hope many Catholics will join us in working together to make the world a safer place for women and girls. Thank you.